The Battle of the Philippines did not begin with chaos. It began with disbelief. Just hours after Pearl Harbor was attacked, American and Filipino forces in the Philippines received word that war had begun, yet many still believed the islands would not be struck immediately. That belief would last only a few hours. What followed was one of the most devastating defeats in American military history, a campaign marked by miscalculation, heroism, desperation, and an enemy that moved faster and hit harder than anyone expected. In 1941, the Philippines were the largest American overseas possession, a critical link in U.S. power across the Pacific. The island sat directly in the path of Japanese expansion, surrounded by territory Japan already controlled. If war came, the Philippines would be isolated instantly. Reinforcements from the United States would take months to arrive, if they could arrive at all. American planners knew this. Yet the islands remained poorly defended, under-equipped, and dangerously exposed. At the center of the defense was General Douglas MacArthur. Confident, outspoken, and fiercely protective of the Philippines, MacArthur believed the islands could be held. He believed American air power would disrupt any Japanese invasion. He believed the Philippine Army could be mobilized in time. And above all, he believed that Japan would hesitate before striking such a major American position. Japan did not hesitate. On December 8, 1941, December 7th in Hawaii, Japanese bombers appeared over Clark Field and other American air bases in the Philippines. Many U.S. aircraft were still parked wing-to-wing on the ground, despite warnings from Pearl Harbor. Within hours, much of the American Far East Air Force was destroyed. Fighters burned on runways. Bombers exploded where they sat. The sky filled with smoke. In a single morning, American air power in the Philippines was crippled. The loss was catastrophic. Without air cover, the islands were defenseless. Japanese forces began landing across northern Luzon within days. Their troops were experienced, disciplined, and supported by naval and air superiority. American and Filipino units attempted to resist, but coordination was poor and training uneven. Many Filipino soldiers had been mobilized only weeks earlier. They lacked equipment, artillery, and even basic supplies. Some units had never fired their weapons before combat began. MacArthur's original plan was to defend the beaches and repel the invasion, but the destruction of his air force made that impossible. As Japanese troops poured ashore, American defenses collapsed piece by piece. Roads were choked with refugees. Communication lines failed. Units became separated and overwhelmed. Within days, MacArthur made a fateful decision. He abandoned the beach defense plan and ordered retreat to Bataan Peninsula, a mountainous, jungle-covered region that could be defended more easily. It was a return to an older strategy known as War Plan Orange, a plan that assumed the Philippines would be lost initially, but held long enough for relief to arrive from the United States. But relief was never coming. As American and Filipino forces retreated into Bataan, they destroyed bridges, burned supplies, and attempted to slow the Japanese advance. The retreat was chaotic but disciplined. Units fought delaying actions, buying time for others to escape. Japanese forces pursued aggressively, cutting off stragglers and applying constant pressure. By January 1942, tens of thousands of Allied troops were trapped on Bataan. They were exhausted, hungry, and short of ammunition. Food rations were cut again and again until soldiers were surviving on starvation levels. Disease spread rapidly. Malaria, dysentery, and dengue fever ravaged the defenders. Hospitals overflowed. Medicine ran out. Soldiers grew weaker by the day. Yet still, they fought. Japanese assaults were launched repeatedly against Bataan's defensive lines. Artillery thundered through the jungle. Infantry attacks surged forward, only to be repelled by desperate defenders who had nothing left to give. The fighting was brutal, close, and relentless. American and Filipino troops held on not because they believed they could win, but because surrender was unthinkable. In March 1942, President Roosevelt made a controversial decision. MacArthur was ordered to leave the Philippines and escape to Australia. The president feared MacArthur would be captured or killed and wanted him to lead future operations. MacArthur obeyed, departing Corregidor under cover of darkness. As he left, he delivered a promise that would echo through history. "I shall return." Command of the remaining forces fell to General Jonathan Wainwright. He inherited an impossible situation. Supplies were gone. Troops were starving. The Japanese had reinforced and prepared for a final blow. In early April, Japan launched its final offensive on Bataan. After days of intense bombardment, the defensive lines finally broke. Exhausted, malnourished, and unable to continue fighting, the defenders collapsed. On April 9, 1942, American and Filipino forces on Bataan surrendered. It was the largest surrender in American military history. But the suffering was not over. What followed became known as the Bataan Death March. Tens of thousands of prisoners were forced to march more than 60 miles under brutal conditions. They were beaten, starved, denied water, and executed if they fell behind. Thousands died along the road. It became one of the most infamous atrocities of the Pacific War. Meanwhile, resistance continued on Corregidor, a fortress island guarding Manila Bay. Japanese artillery pounded the island day and night. Bombs collapsed tunnels. Fires spread through underground bunkers. Food and water were nearly gone. Finally, in May 1942, Japanese forces landed on Corregidor. After fierce fighting, Wainwright surrendered all remaining forces in the Philippines. The islands had fallen. Japan had achieved a stunning victory. It eliminated American power in the Western Pacific, secured vital resources, and demonstrated its military dominance. But the victory carried consequences Japan did not foresee. The fall of the Philippines galvanized American resolve. Stories of Bataan and the Death March shocked the public and fueled a desire for revenge. The phrase "Remember Bataan" became a rallying cry. American industry shifted fully into wartime production. New strategies were formed. New commanders rose. And 2 years later, MacArthur kept his promise. In October 1944, American forces returned to the Philippines, launching one of the largest amphibious invasions in history. The battle to liberate the islands would be brutal, costly, and devastating. But it would erase the defeat of 1942 and mark the beginning of the end for Japanese power in the Pacific. The Battle of the Philippines began as a disaster, a collapse shaped by misjudgment, poor preparation, and overwhelming enemy strength. But it also produced extraordinary acts of courage, sacrifice, and endurance. Soldiers fought while starving. Nurses worked until they collapsed. Civilians resisted occupation at immense personal risk. The Philippines fell, but they were never forgotten. And in the long arc of the war, the defeat that began in December 1941 became the motivation for the victories that followed.